Let's talk to Abuja now. Markwe?
Thank you, Chamberlain. Well, we're sinking our teeth into something equally important is outside the shores of Nigeria. It happened outside the shores of our country, within the ECOWAS state. It's interesting that Mara is reporting from the ECOWAS headquarters here in Abuja, not too far away from where we are. But something happened in one of our sister countries that is not very pleasant. A Nigerian lady was wrongfully jailed. Well, that's what he said, was wrongfully jailed and has, as a result of illness and a number of other things, lost her life in the process of trying to fight for justice. There have been questions as to what the Nigerian government did to try and bring this woman's case to light and bring justice to her before she eventually passed. There have been questions and there have been criticisms. To answer some of those questions and to say what the Nigerian government did about it, because right now we understand that the Nigerian government is also requesting that an autopsy be carried out to ascertain the cause of her death. Her name is Itunu Babalola. We have with us the Chairman and CEO of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, Madam Abike Dabiri-Erewa. You're welcome to Sunrise Elite this morning.
Thank you, Mokwe, and good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Well, it was really very sad to note the story of Itunu Babalola as has gone viral. She was known by another alias in the country where she was, in Cote d'Ivoire, from what we understand. But the story, from how it was told by journalists, did not leave a very pleasant taste. We understand that she was working in that country and had gone to complain to the police about a robbery, and before you know what was happening, the accuser turned the accused, and it was saying that, justice was just slow in being served. What does the Nigerian, because we understand that your commission intervened in the early days of that particular issue. What do you know about the case and how did it go down?
Well, I'll tell you the case as told by the mission and the family themselves. This was, she had been in jail for 2 years. Like you said, burglary. All of a sudden, burglary became human trafficking. And her name, the name she used for the case and in Cote d'Ivoire was Becky Paul. So all of a sudden, because a policeman was involved, the nephew, the guy who burgled was said to be his nephew and all that. But one thing is, I wish she had even informed the mission while that case was going on. Perhaps the issue of going to court would not have arisen. Anyway, she was in court for 2 years until the father actually informed the Diaspora Commission and the Nigerian mission in Cote d'Ivoire about the plight of her daughter. Now, I'll tell you what the Nigerian mission did. This was in March, COVID period. So by May, this was going towards March, April. By May, anyway, the Nigerian mission immediately got the service of a lawyer. Now, where she is very far away. She's like 4 to 8 hours outside Abidjan. So the Nigerian mission in Cote d'Ivoire, under the Consul General there, Mr. Mohamed Abba Ghana, actually immediately got the service of a lawyer and went with the consular officer to the prison where she was. Very far, like I said, outside Abidjan.
I'm trying to put dates to this, because you say she had already been in court for 2 years.
No, she had been in jail.
In jail for 2 years?
For 2 years.
Before the case came to your attention?
Before anybody even knew she was in jail.
How did you get to know about this
The father. I think she might have thought this was not going to happen. She was going to get out. And then the father actually got in touch with us. And we got in touch with the mission. And immediately the mission, in fact, the Nigerian community in Cote d'Ivoire also got involved. So the first thing was go and see her in prison. And they went there, saw her, had a meeting with her, had a meeting with the lawyer, the prosecutor, and it was discovered that, look, she didn't commit that crime, as sure as the sun will shine. So the next thing is transfer the case from where she is to Abidjan. That's the easiest thing to do. So they were told it takes years, but with the intervention of the Nigerian High Commissioner, Ambassador Ahmed, the case has now been transferred to Abidjan. So within the last couple of months, that was what they were working on, and finally got to Abidjan. And you know what it is. You're already in jail. You're appealing. You want the case transferred. Sometimes it takes 3 years. And we're talking of, another country in West Africa. So they succeeded in doing all that. And then the first thing they did was the Nigerian community and staff of the mission immediately raised funds, because we are waiting for government. It might take a while to get the lawyer to go there and start the processes. That was done. Then by the time they got all things done, the case has now been transferred to Abidjan. The appeal was to begin. And the lawyer charged some thousands of dollars, which Ambassador Ahmed actually paid, started the process. And we're all waiting for this appeal to start. And she gets out of jail and boom, we hear she's dead. So right now, like the Nigerian government has said...
She never got out of jail, did she?
No, I said, no, she left. When she fell ill, they called the embassy, the lawyer went to see her, and they took her to military hospital in Abidjan. So she died in hospital. She never went back. So what happened? How did she develop diabetes complications? Because the father said she never had such history. So right now, the ambassador has demanded that an autopsy be conducted. They've issued a strong statement on their website and condemned the way she was even treated in the first place. How does burglary become human trafficking, even if she used a different name? So that is what we're waiting for, the result of the autopsy. And the Ivorian government, have promised that everything will be done, no cover-ups and all that. So in terms of what the government think, I'm giving you the timeline in the sense that there was nobody took anything for granted. The mission were on top of the matter. Money was not a problem. Everything was done. But, even transferring the case, which was the most important thing, could have taken years. But with intervention of the Nigerian High Commission, they ensured that the case was taken to Abidjan, and the appeal was supposed to continue.
What I find striking about this case, because, you say that the case came to light when her father, approached your commission and you escalated it to the mission in Cote d'Ivoire. Do I understand that correctly?
Well, the father told us.
Yes.
We worked with the mission. They had also gotten to know, and then the mission took the right action. You see, if she had, this thing happened to you, and this is one of the things that came out of this, let the mission know when you're in trouble.
What I know, that's how you knew, but lots of Nigerians knew about that case through the write-up by David Hunde.
Well, wait,
on
David,
Twitter.
Somebody wrote, I can't follow the name, but somebody wrote, and we replied the person
Indeed.
that this case was being looked at.
We saw a response
but
from
the father got in touch with us personally and said, so it was about the same time. I think it was also, maybe, I don't know how anybody was about the same time.
Was it about 2 years ago?
No. This was just in this year. This was last year, between March and May. That's why she's been in jail for 2 years before it even got to the attention of the Nigerian High Commission, of the Diaspora Commission.
How quickly do we get, because one of the things that struck me in the testimony which you just gave now is the fact that she was wrongfully accused.
Yeah, but she didn't tell anybody.
No, you said it was as clear as day.
After the mission intervened,
yes,
got the lawyer,
yes,
that she was wrongfully incarcerated.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. You've been in jail for 2 years.
Indeed.
That means you went through a court process, and then you were sentenced. Now, the next thing is you appeal the judgment, saying that it was a wrongful judgment, which is what the Nigerian government decided to do. Get the lawyer, pay the lawyer. Ordinarily, if you have a case, you get your lawyer. But the Nigerian government decided that they'll sort this case in this particular case. So the next thing you do is appeal. Okay, you might say diplomatic intervention. You've been incarcerated. You've been in jail for 2 years. That's the first thing you do, have a legal option. And the lawyer working with the mission realized that, look, according to the case in front of him, she will win the appeal. After she wins the appeal, she gets... In fact, they also asking for bail while the appeal was on. So it was a lot of judicial processes going on as at that time. She had been in jail for 2 years. But if she had told the mission, even while she was having issues with the burglary or
for a number
trafficking...
of people, talking about the mission, and this is not to disparage the work that the missions are doing. I do know that a lot of missions are putting in their best, especially within the resources that they have. But when a number of Nigerians are in trouble abroad, the missions is not the first thing that comes to their mind. Maybe relatives, friends, communities that they have formed come to their mind. But very rarely do missions, feature as one of the first options.
I agree with you in quite a number of instances. But here's the thing. When the trouble just starts sometimes, at least if you had, and we keep appealing to Nigerians that if you had, now you can say, well, I went and nobody did anything. But she didn't. So that's what I'm saying. One of the things NIDCOM was not in existence 2 years ago. So what we're trying to appeal to, particularly students, take during the COVID-19 pandemic, it was tough because a lot of people started coming and you never even knew they were in those countries. So I think at least, particularly the young people, students, just let them know that especially when you get into trouble, like in this case, if she had approached the mission and they said, oh, get out of here, then she can say, I did this, but they drove me away.
Yes, but when eventually the missions do intervene, in what time frame do you think that, people can reasonably expect justice?
It varies from mission to mission, person to person, case to case. In this particular case, the judicial system of that country had to be put in place. In some cases, to even transfer a case, according to the lawyers, you can ask any lawyer, could take as much as 2 years, or even commencing the whole thing. But we can say it was slow, but it was done within a period of a few months, which we would have thought would have been done immediately anyway, but their own court processes needed to be taken into consideration. If you say, some say, oh, diplomatic intervention, that led to hastening, even getting the case transferred to Abidjan. So it takes a process, and you may query or question the judicial process of that country. But that's not for me to do, but that's what the mission did immediately, started working on it. In fact, when the father informed us, one of the things was, why don't we just go to Cote d'Ivoire? But then there was COVID. Even the father himself could not go.
Are there any lessons that Nigeria takes away from this? I'm going to talk about what Nigeria is requesting much later, but are there any lessons Nigeria takes away from this in terms of how this has been handled? And the fact that, one, she was innocent of the charges brought against her. She had been wrongfully incarcerated for 2 years before there was an intervention. As a country, the fact that in the process of trying to get her justice, she died. Are there any lessons that, as a country, we're taking away from this in terms of how we handle further cases where the person has been clearly proven to be innocent?
That is why we don't expect that this case is just going to end like that. An autopsy is being done. We expect the result. The case must go on, so that even in death, she must get justice. NIDCOM has written to Interpol. A policeman was involved in Cote d'Ivoire, so they should look into it. What was the relationship? What happened? Maybe they have their own story. How did burglary turn to human trafficking? Whether she was Becky Paul or Itunu. So that is there. We are, like I said, we've evolved. Also, the Office of the Attorney General is fully in the picture. So that is one thing that I hope that Nigeria as a country will ensure that you don't just let this go away just like that. We must get justice for the poor girl. She was only in search, even if she was not, maybe she didn't have a work permit, maybe that's why she used that name. That is not why she should die. And then she was also badly treated in prison. According to what the lawyer said, and according to what the father also said, she was badly treated in prison. She indeed sent me a message from prison, just asking that her case be transferred to Abidjan, which I communicated to the mission. So that is one thing. And then two is that...
I know that you've always advocated for Nigerians in prison. It's been something of concern to you. Has there been any improvement, especially now that you are at NIDCOM, and it would seem that you have more executive wherewithal to be... I knew about this when you were in the House of Representatives. Now that you have more executive wherewithal to be able to do something about it, what more can we request in terms of the treatment of Nigerians in prison?
The executive wherewithal is actually more with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, maybe for the final decision. We can say this is the situation, these are the numbers. But what we have done, we've been to a couple of prisons within West Africa. I remember the one to Republic of Benin, and with the ambassador. What we're dealing with, there's some that were there, just needed to be bailed out. We bailed them out. There was a boy who was just 11 years old. He committed the crime when they said he raped a 4-year-old. He committed the crime when he was 7. That means he's been there for 4 years. So the intervention of the mission was, this boy shouldn't be here. But the real deep cases of crime, you can't just come and say go. But where, there are little issues. There are some cases in some other African countries about overstay. So what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs generally is doing is having an overlook at all these cases, which ones are not so bad that can get out. Like it happened in South Africa. There's some Nigerians in prison that the offenses were minor. With the intervention of the mission, they were able to get out. But the deep ones, you did drugs, you did this and that, it's difficult.
You went to see the Ivorian ambassador here in Abuja. What did you...
Oh, well, we told him the demands of the Nigerian government, and he gave assurances that he said to us there are about 3 billion Nigerians in Cote d'Ivoire. We know that, and that we'll do everything to ensure that no Nigerian is that unfairly treated, and give us assurances that they will not cover up and everything will be done to get justice for Itunu. She's just 21 years old, going 22.
A real sad one.
Really, really sad.
21-year-old lady. But I want to ask, what more would Nigeria be, looking at assuming this, while this is going on, but in its relationship with Cote d'Ivoire, how does this affect Nigeria's relationship with Cote d'Ivoire?
Well, let's see how it goes, but on that level, in terms of policy and what next, to be at the level of the Minister of Foreign Affairs to take that decision in terms of the relationship. But for us, as a commission, we want to ensure that even the father we shouldn't just leave him alone like that. And I'm glad that, even the Oyo State government, people are reaching out to him to say, the first thing the man wants is his daughter's corpse. The corpse will return after autopsy has been conducted. But one thing that hurts...
Do we have our team on the autopsy team?
Oh, yes. The Nigerian mission officials are involved. Absolutely, yes. And that's why the corpse has not returned to him. He wants to bury his daughter, and we've told him that he will bury his daughter. Some people have already gone to the man and said, collected his account number, said they're going to raise money to bring a corpse home. I think what hurts him and every other person, there are some people trying to capitalize on a tragedy to make money out of it, or promote blogs or social media out of this. And I think that is very inconsiderate and inhuman. At least that's what the man said. Somebody has said, bring your account number, we're going to raise money to bring back the corpse. And I told the man, don't listen to them, because really, after autopsy, the corpse will be brought in, will be with him to say, it's going to be a sad incident, but have her buried. And then we also look at the family and what next can be done to ease this burden and this deep pain.
Well, we'll certainly hold you to the commitment that the Nigerian government has made with regards to getting justice for her alive, or now that she's dead.
Some lawyers have said they will go to the ECOWAS court, talking about ECOWAS. And they said, well, that they have a right to do that. So all areas should be looked into. The Interpol will expect a response. If lawyers want to go to ECOWAS court, we're part of ECOWAS. And this is a clear case of injustice, period.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Early this morning. Abike Dabiri-Erewa is the Chairman CEO of the Nigeria Diaspora Commission, and since she's been speaking to us on the passing of Itunu Babalola, a young Nigerian woman who was wrongfully convicted in Cote d'Ivoire. Well, that's where we'll have to leave it for this segment. We have a few mails now. We'll take a few of them. This one is from Festus Akimboyewa, talking about the Lagos NSAS panel report. He says, whether Lagos NSAS panel report is full of speculations, inconsistencies, and ambiguities, it must never be swept under the carpet. It is depressing and demoralizing that innocent Nigerians were injured and some died while protesting police brutality unarmed. What Nigerians want is accountability. Nothing more, nothing less.
Ofego says, I'm surprised that he's still fighting to admit that people died or were severely injured as a result. As a lawyer, he should be aware that in so many judicial authorities, it has been held that the act of firing a weapon is simply with the intention of committing grievous bodily harm. So the intention of the soldiers on that day is in no doubt to commit serious bodily harm, which is in itself, whether or not people died, is a serious crime, to wit, attempted murder.
Uzo, on same issue, says, I'd like to remind the council that whereas the flashes of the gunshots fired into the air may be visible, the shots that are aimed laterally at protesters may not necessarily be visible, and therefore it would be wrong to conclude from the footage that there were no shots aimed at the protesters.
Well, this one is from Titi Loye, talking about the Lagos NSAS panel report. Says, I think something is not adding up here. Massacre with report of 3 deaths, 2 of blunt injury, not gunshot, and 3rd body recovered on 2nd day. This is pathologist opinion. Evidence not consistent with findings in a case as sensitive as this. Leaked report. We all need to tread carefully at this stage. And that's from Nicholas Titiloye.
Well, Lauren Loba says, should the soldiers have been at the Lekki toll gate in the first place? No. Should they have shot blank bullets into the air? No. Did the army deny ever going to the scene? Yes. These are facts that Council to Lagos State government can never deny. Are there enough to show complacency on the part of the government? Yes. While we await the white report, the government should instead start working towards reconciliation and warming their way back into the heart of Nigerian youths instead of killing the facts. So there you go. That is the show today.
Very well said.
Yes. Go ahead.
Indeed. I mean, the last words there, warming their way back into the heart of Nigerian youth and earning once more their trust will certainly be a way to go. We have to thank you so much for watching this morning and contributing your quota by watching and writing in. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
That word trust you used, Maokwe, is a very expensive currency and commodity.
Yeah,
Am I back today? Have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend.
Remember, if you're in Lagos, look out for VIO and LASMA. They appear to be on the revenue drive. So stay safe. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.